I love that. That's actually giving me some goosebumps. I don't know why. I'm not as huge. I don't know. I've never seen much Shakespeare stuff. I know you might judge me on that, but it gave me goosebumps again. The kind of togetherness and people coming up with these ideas during self-isolation. So welcome to episode 3 of the Everymind show. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the novelty of self-isolation wearing off. And obviously I'm recording this during lockdown, during the Covid-19 pandemic, and we really wanted to kind of focus on during this period now where we've been locked down, where a lot of people have been working from home, we're almost getting used to it. We wanted to talk about that and how that novelty is almost wearing off now. And just quickly, obviously I'm going to answer some of the questions that we've got. We've got some mystery clips, we've got other clips that we're going to be sharing during this show, and I'm also going to be sharing some tips for mindfulness. I wanted to just start by saying that I can totally relate to this topic, because when lockdown first happened, there was the adapting to change of working from home, the uncertainty, kind of dealing with it, and we put out a lot of content to kind of help with that. But now actually I'm finding myself getting used to working from home. I'm getting used to seeing the family more often. I'm getting used to sitting at this makeshift desk that I've kind of created, and actually the thought, especially now with the weather being as it is, the thought of going to London and working in an office and going back to normality is actually causing a little bit of anxiety for me, because I'm getting used to this. I'm sort of nestling into this comfort zone of self-isolation and being at home. So can totally relate to this topic completely. So as we've kind of said, for a lot of people, that novelty of self-isolation, of working from home is kind of wearing off now, and we wanted to give you some tips to refresh yourself mentally, to stay positive as well during this period. Now, as we always do, before we answer any questions, I'm going to watch the mystery clip that my team have shown me for this episode.
But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief. That thou, her maid, art far more fair than she. Be not her maid, since she is envious. Her vestal livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Cast it off.
Is it just him or is there other people?
My lady. Oh, it is my love. Oh, that she knew she were. She speaks, yet says nothing. What of her? Her eye discourses it. I will answer. What shade those stars?
That's so cool.
As daylight doth a lamp. Her eyes in heaven would through the airy region stream so bright that birds would sing and think.
Does she speak?
That is thine enemy. Thou art thou self. Oh, not a Montague. Oh, what's Montague? 'Tis not a hand, nor foot, nor arm, nor face, or any
I
other
love it. I want to
part
watch the
of
reaction. Nice. I love that. That's actually giving me some goosebumps. I don't know why. I'm not as huge. I don't know. I've never seen much Shakespeare stuff. I know you might judge me on that, but it gave me goosebumps again, the kind of togetherness and people coming up with these ideas during self-isolation and innovating and becoming creative and getting people to kind of get together and showcasing that. And even on a Thursday, obviously, you know, in the UK, we all come outside at 8 p.m. and we kind of clap for the NHS and the key workers, and I get goosebumps at that every time, just seeing everyone down my road. And to be honest with you, people that I don't even know, because we're so digital now, that, you know, my local community, and seeing people outside their houses clapping, hitting pots and pans, and everyone coming together, I get goosebumps at that too. So I think that's an amazing clip. And again, one thing that I think we can all take from this negative situation is how together we have all become during this period, and hopefully with mental health as well, it kind of shows that we can still be together, and we can talk about it, and we can support each other like we're doing. So let's dive into some questions. The first question is, I'm getting to the point of this lockdown where the work is drying up a bit and my lockdown routines are slipping. I can feel my mental health deteriorating. What can I do? I think, again, it comes back to the same advice that I keep hammering on to people is don't judge yourself for that. You know, we're humans. We're struggling to deal with this situation emotionally. this is change that we're still reacting to and we're still trying to figure out. So if you were doing well and now you've slipped, the more you beat yourself up in that situation, and especially personally for me, the more I beat myself up in that situation, the worse and worse it becomes. So if I'm doing well and I slip, it's about accepting it, analysing it, and knowing that I'm in that position, having the awareness to know that I'm in that position, accepting it, not beating myself up, and doing small little things that can get me back to where I was. So I believe a lot of people are going to be like that. So I would just say on that, focus on small wins, small little things that you can do every day that will mount up and mount up. It's almost that whole technique that we've got a video in the app actually. It's called 1%. It's about 1%, being 1% better every single day, and those small incremental changes can amount to bigger changes. So I would say start small on that question, and also as well, don't judge yourself being in that position. I'm waking up each morning and having panic attacks. What can I do to try and prevent these? So really, really difficult question. I think it's so individual, and from my experience, I had my first panic attack when I was 19, and I might have had them before that actually, but again, mental health wasn't really discussed back then, so I don't know, I wouldn't have known what it was. But the first panic attack that I remember is when I was 19, and I was on holiday with all of my friends, and this was about 3 months after obviously losing my dad to suicide, and we'd had the funeral and all of that, and I had a panic attack when we were away with my friends. I've been very vocal about it now, but I wasn't at the time, and that just hit me like a ton of, it hits you because you don't know what you're experiencing. You can't breathe, you can't slow your breathing down. Sometimes you're crying, you can't control what's going on, and it's a really, really hard situation to be in. And having them each morning, I can only empathize with that. That must be difficult. So in terms of what helped me, a lot of it was down to breathing techniques. So a simple one that I use is 4-2-6. So breathing in for 4, holding for 2, and out for 6. Let's do that actually, because it's so beneficial. It's so simple, but when you do it, it helps. So let's breathe in for 4, hold for 2, and out for 6. Already I feel lighter, and it's almost like because we breathe so naturally, when we focus on breathing and we have a little bit more strategy to it and we can become present with it, it massively, for me, relieves a lot of pressure. So whenever I was dealing with those panic attacks, when I could start focusing on my breathing, that helped. Other things as well for me was like positive affirmations. So telling myself positive affirmations during that period and leading up to the panic attack if I could sense it coming on. So that helps, but again, I would definitely recommend getting some professional advice as well if you possibly can. Reach out to a professional that can help you deal with these panic attacks, especially if you're experiencing them every day. And Anxiety UK is a really good charity as well that do a lot of good advice and a lot of free help to, obviously, if you don't have the resources to be able to get that professional help as well. So, gonna watch another video now. This one is You'll Never Walk Alone by Captain Moore. Now, Captain Tom Moore, the work that he's done during this time is phenomenal. And this is a massive reminder for everyone that you are never too old to start. You are never too old to do something that you're passionate about or that you believe in doing. You're never too old to make a difference. And, this guy just blows me away. So let's have a little look at this clip.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high. That really is truly amazing, isn't it?
Inches to go.
Love him.
There he is. Congratulations. Well done.
What is going on at the moment is very serious and is very extensive. But I think we must also remember that things will get better. There's no doubt there will be one day when things get better, and rather as the sun which we're talking about, when the sun will shine again, and then we will never ever walk alone.
Captain Moore, from one Tom to another, congratulations on beating my chart record. If I was going to lose to anybody, it's an honour to have lost to you for all you've done raising money for the NHS. Congratulations, all the best.
Amazing, amazing. So, like, 99, topped the charts, the oldest person to do that, raised a phenomenal amount of money. I believe I saw, I think he opened up a facility as well. So, he might be doing public appearances after all of this as well. And watching that actually made me get a bit emotional, just about my granddad. I miss my granddad a lot. And, he's 94. He's housebound, he has carers, and even though I've got some videos of me FaceTiming him, it's not the same. So I really think that what that guy is doing is amazing. So well done, Mr. Tom Moore. So what we want to do now is give you some tips to stay mindful. A couple of tips. We're going to use 5 tips to stay mindful during this period, but you can also use these tips throughout. And these are 5 tips that will hopefully help you in times of stress or in times of anxiety. It's just about staying mindful and staying present. So the first tip is meditation, is mindfulness, and there's various different ways of utilizing meditation. There's different forms of meditation as well. You've got guided meditations, you've got meditation apps that you could use. There's various different ways of doing it. I would say with meditation, from my experience, is start small. Maybe download an app. There's lots of them on the App Store. Download yourself an app and just try it for 5 minutes. Start small and sort of work your way up, and then start experimenting with different types of music. You might want to experiment with different types of meditations, but for me, meditation is very good at kind of just dealing with that. And at the same time, it doesn't have to be a sit-down meditation practice. The breathing exercise that we just did is, for me, a form of meditation too. So that's something that you can do to stay mindful. Tip number 2 is reading. And reading, again, almost in a way, distracts your mind. It gets you present in on a book. It can be any book. Sometimes, it doesn't have to be a self-improvement book. It can just be a book, a fiction book or whatever it is. And it's just your way of relaxing, getting your mind present into a book, getting lost in that book and taking yourself away from a lot of the stress that you're obviously dealing with. If you don't like reading, you can also use audiobooks or podcasts. Again, that's something that you can use to stay mindful. But for me, I really kind of do just like diving into a book. And I think to myself, before we go to bed normally, me and my wife will normally watch telly, which is what most people do, or TV if you're not from the UK. But sometimes when we go and we read, or especially I think about like the bedtime routines that we try and get our kids to do, and we don't follow through on that. We always say to our kids, like, I'll read Teddy a story. Teddy's free, and then Freddie, who's older, he'll read a book before bed, and sometimes we'll read it with him as well. So reading for them winds them down and gets them ready for bed, so it's something that we can all utilize as well throughout the day. Tip number 3 is journaling. Journaling for me has been very beneficial as well. There's various different ways of journaling. You could do structured journaling. You could get yourself a structured journal. There's lots out there. You've got the 5-minute journal, you've got the self journal. There's loads that you can get, and they're kind of structured, and they tell you, maybe write down your targets for today, what you did well, what you're grateful for, maybe a free passage for you to write down. So you can definitely use that. But for me, I like just a plain piece of paper, a plain notepad, and writing down whatever's on my mind. And with journaling, what I see it as is, when it's up here, it's harder to deal with. The mind is racing, and it's kind of hard to rationalize. But when I actually sit down and I'm present and I write down what's going on in my mind and I look at it, it almost feels like someone else's problems. I can rationalize those problems, I can figure them out, and that's a real present exercise for me. It's a mindful exercise, and that actually helps calm me down as well. So journaling is another one. Tip number 4 is coloring. Now, colouring could be puzzles, colouring could be a variety of different activities, but lots of people say colouring or doing puzzles or something along those lines is a mindfulness exercise where, again, you're present in that moment. If you're colouring, you're focused on colouring. You're kind of, again, taken away from everything else that's going on. If you're doing a puzzle, you're focused in on that activity. So it could be colouring, puzzles, whatever it is, as long as you're focused in on an activity and it's very mindful, that can help too. Colouring, puzzles, for me, running. Like, running is my mindful activity because I'm out, it's just me running on my own, and that for me is massively helpful too. And then the tip 5, which is a bit woo-woo, is use your senses. So using your senses for me is all about grounding ourselves and bringing ourselves back to the present. I think I mentioned it in a previous episode that The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle is a favourite book of mine. It's about being present. And when I found myself sort of dwelling on the past, I felt, fell into depression, or I felt sadness around those moments that I couldn't change. But at the same time, when I'm fixated on the future and what could happen and the negatives there, that can obviously lead to a lot of anxiety. And what Eckhart Tolle talks about is the only moment that we can control is the now moment, the present moment. That's the only thing that ever exists. So it's a very hard concept when it comes to applying it, but it's very simple if you think about it that way. And what helps me stay present is using my senses. So when I'm out for a walk, bit woo-woo, but kind of like breathing in the air, like looking at the tree, maybe touching a tree or picking up a leaf or whatever it is, in a way, using your senses, whether it's touch, smell, sight, whatever it is, to kind of fixate on the present moment and bring yourself to that moment as well. So that's 5 tips to stay mindful during this period and beyond as well. Let me answer another question. The weather was really nice here in the UK for a while, but now it's got a lot colder. Welcome to the UK. And the skies are more grey. This really affects my mood knowing that we are locked down knowing that we are locked down anyway, and going outside is trickier as well. What can I do? I mean, the weather has a direct impact on our mood, for sure. Like, it makes me feel happier when it's sunnier. But at the same time, I think, we have to focus on what we can control, and we cannot control external factors like the weather. So it's good that you're aware that the weather has an impact on how you're feeling, but at the same time, we cannot control that. So I would maybe recommend focusing in on other self-care activities that can help you, boost your mood during this period as well. So just because, we can't go out, just because it's not sunny, there's other things that obviously may benefit you in terms of how you're feeling and your mood. It could be exercise, it could be meditation, it could be reading, it could be journaling, it could be speaking to friends, whatever it is. I would double down on those ones to hopefully boost up your mood, the ones that you can control. So that's kind of the advice there. But I miss the sun. I miss the sun lots. I really find reading helps my mental health. This time is perfect for expanding my knowledge and self-care. What books do you recommend? So I think this goes into a new feature that we're looking to expand on. Is the Everymind book club, and I love reading personally, and I know a lot of people do, and we wanted to kind of recommend a couple of books in this segment that might help. The first one is obviously, as I've mentioned it, Eckhart Tolle and The Power of Now. This for me was a really, really kind of book that changed my perspective a lot. The other book that I would recommend it's a little bit spiritual again, but it's a very good concept, is Unearthed Soul by Michael Singer, I believe his name is. I've recently finished up that one. Another one that I would personally recommend is 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson. Those 3, if you can read any of those 3 are my recommendation. And then another book that I would recommend from our sister company, Trigger Publishing, is How to Feel Good in Difficult Times. It's available on Amazon. It's really, really relevant to now. So I would definitely recommend that one. And also their children's series. They've put out a lot of children books recently, and if we're spending this time with our family, a lot of the books there, the children's series is really good during this time to help them understand mental health and to help them understand how they're coping too. So we're going to answer one more question, and then we're going to wrap up today's episode of the Everymind show. If you do have any questions or any feedback that you want to give us, please don't hesitate to reach out or use the comment section below. The final question: everyone seems to want to do a Zoom call now, and I feel I am socializing much more than I usually would. This is causing me to feel very anxious. I've constantly got to put on my social mask. How can I turn down offers to video call without seeming rude? This is a really good question. So again, I would say, number one, it's a really good point of having to put our social mask on during Zoom calls. I've never thought of it that way, but in a way we're showing up, we're trying to make ourselves maybe look a certain way. I know there's a lot of people as well, even I sort of say to myself, God, what is in the background? Does it make it look like I've got a messy house, or does it make it look like I'm living in a nice house? So I think a lot of people do worry about that, and almost that anxiety is being caused by worrying about people's perception of us too. But I think with any form of anxiety, social anxiety, for me, there's kind of always 2 options. The first way is just to be honest, maybe kind of say to people, hey, I'm not going on video today, I don't really feel like jumping on video, but I'm still here on audio. Like, there's no reason why you couldn't be honest with it and explain how you feel. I know that's very difficult to do, but again, our big aim is normalizing mental health conversations, so hopefully it'll be easier as time goes on. But I would probably just be honest and say, I don't feel like going on video today, but I'm still here, I'm still listening, I'm still giving you my input. The second way is to kind of challenge that. For me, when I was struggling with social anxiety, it was about kind of being in that comfort zone and not wanting to leave it. And actually what I found helped with my anxiety is stepping out of that comfort zone. So with social anxiety, it was putting myself in situations that my mind told me that I shouldn't be in. And that for me was a big sort of help. So that's the other option, maybe just kind of working on it and slowly doing it. And, once you've done it a couple of times more, it'll become a lot easier, and your mind won't be telling you, you don't want to be on camera, you don't want to be doing this, all of those kind of tricks that it plays on you. So that's what I would personally do, is either one, be honest and just say, I'm not going on video for this reason, or number two, try and challenge that anxiety a little bit, push through that comfort zone, and after a couple of times you might find it becomes a lot easier too. So guys, thank you so much for watching episode 3 of the Everymind show. We're looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. We're also looking forward to expanding on this. Like, I was chatting to Isaac earlier about this, and I said to him, look, I'm not worried about the views, I'm not worried about where we're going with this show or how it looks at this stage. It's about, let's look back on these episodes when we're at episode 100, episode 200, episode 500, episode 1000, whatever we're at, and kind of see the difference. And this for me is just something that I want to be consistent with, and see where we can take it and get some more people involved as well once, of course, all of this goes back to normal. But please stay safe. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all in episode 4 of the Everymind show.